Talk about the amendments that are being proposed to the Constitution. So you have this big ass book here, right? And only a few people get this big ass book. I was able to find it in the clerk's office. They didn't have any sample ballots, even though it was after the 15th. So I don't know what the hell the Castillo County Clerk's office is up to. She said to come back on Friday. Well, they're closed on Friday, so come back for a sample ballot. No, how about I just don't even fucking talk to you? Y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about. But this big fat, book was there. And so I grabbed it, and it's awesome. This book explains everything. It explains why they did it, why they didn't do it. But they didn't explain Amendment 74 very well. Okay, so I'm just going to get into it directly so that way I don't lose hardly any time. But this is important. Pay attention to every single thing I'm going to say, Colorado, because they're changing the Bill of Rights. They're trying to change Colorado's Bill of Rights. So there's, about 10, there's 13 total, and there's 7 or 8 of them changing the Constitution. These are specifically changing the Bill of Rights. Article 2, there's 31 sections under Article 2, which is all of our rights and freedoms as Coloradan Americans. So, if you don't know what our rights are, Article 2, Section 2, we have a right to revolution, we have a right to defend our lives and liberty, we have religious freedom, we have free elections, you gotta be free and open, nobody, not the military, not the civil, nobody can stop with the free exercise of voting. So when that lady in the clerk's office at Conejos County acted like she was going to disenfranchise me, I hope she doesn't. It's same-day registration here in Colorado. I'll be here on election day. So, if you're going to make me go in there and then sue the shit. How much money do you think Americans should get if they've been disenfranchised from voting? That's, your people have fought and died for that shit. You shouldn't fucking play fast and loose with that kind of stuff. It's fucking bullshit. She also laughed that I had fines. So my pain brings her pleasure, and she's always going to fucking try to take shit away from me. And that sucks. That fucking sucks. It feels like she's cute, so she's been doing that shit her entire fucking life. And I wish kindness, at the very least, kindness. I know y'all don't care, but maybe y'all could be kind. Maybe you could try being nicer. And, no? Okay, so you're gonna make me fight for my right to vote? That's fine. I'll be like Martin Luther fucking King here. I have a right to vote, motherfuckers. So, come after me. Let's see what you got. There's also freedom of speech and press. Don't be treasonous. Felonies need an indictment. Free from search and seizures. Must have warrant with specifics. Ex post facto laws are banned. So, debtors, prison is illegal. So, some of the same rights and freedoms as America, but some extra ones, right? You cannot be thrown into jail for debt. Unless there's fraud, unless you were fraudulent, or you refuse to offer the property to settle your debts. So bankruptcy. In bankruptcy, you say, all right, here's all my assets, and then the courts say, okay, well, this is what's extra, you keep this, and then the debtors get the rest, and then it's all clean. But debtor's prison is illegal in Colorado. You have a right to bear arms here to defend your home, property, and person, but never carry concealed weapons. So the carried concealed, you got to get a license for that, but the Constitution protects your right to carry a gun on your person. Holstered, I would think, but it doesn't say holstered. Okay. So there's 15 more there, but those are some of the rights and freedoms. And there's a right to remonstrance. We actually have a right not to free speech, but we have a right to give a demonstration, a very wild and crazy demonstration. We can remonstrate. We have a right to remonstrance. Okay. So, the two things I'm going to be talking about, there's Amendment A and then there's Amendment 74. So, vote yes for Amendment A and vote no for Amendment 74. Amendment A is, should we prohibit slavery and involuntary servitude in all circumstances? So, slavery was outlawed after the Civil War. It was done, 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendments, and then the states followed. There wasn't a single battle fought in Colorado during the Civil War. So, Colorado's history, in fact, the Confederates tried to stop Colorado from being formed because they didn't want the slavery to be banned in the state. So they thought that, the slavery might be banned. So the Confederates actually tried to stop the statehood of all Colorado. So there wasn't a single fucking Confederate battle or, movement here. If anything, the movement was to stop the statehood. That's what the Confederates are known for. So, Amendment A, Amendment 74. I am for Amendment A because prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude in all circumstances. We're a freedom state, okay? We're a freedom state, one of the 8 few freedom states. I would stand up if the federal government came into Colorado and started arresting people. I think that would set off a civil war. I have a right to my own body. The war on drugs is bullshit. Drugs are everywhere. You haven't fucking stopped the drugs. People are dying all over the place. I don't give a shit about the fucking drugs. I don't care about your prescription pills. I don't care about your all's fucking heroin, your all's crack and shit. I don't even give a shit about y'all's fucking alcohol. I'm a pothead. I smoke marijuana. That's it. That's all that's not all I do, but that's my beer at the end of the night. That's my vice. And it's not crack. It's not heroin. You assholes have been lying to us for fucking decades, and you're the baby boomers. Y'all brought Quaaludes and fucking PCP in the 60s and the 70s. Give me a fucking break. Y'all introduced all the damn drugs, and now you're pretending like, what, y'all didn't smoke a fucking joint? Shut the fuck up. So, the baby boomer, they've been smoking pot their whole fucking lives, and so we're a freedom state. So, fuck slavery. Fuck slavery in all its forms. I was thinking about this for a second, and it's like, well, if they're a criminal, should we be made, could we be allowed to take their labor and, clean up the fucking streets and shit? If that's their punishment, I think there's some justification for that. They gotta pay for their stay. They got to pay for their bed and their electricity and all the rest of that shit. But why do I need to make the criminals fucking do work? I think you can make the criminals do work for very little pay, so you can actually pay them something. That's how you get away from the slavery thing. So I feel like if you make the criminals do a bunch of work for nothing, the incentive of turning people into criminals so you can turn them into slaves, people deserve dignity. So, unless they're murderers, I think James Holmes should be executed, right? So, I don't think we should take care of James Holmes for the rest of his life. That's such a waste of fucking money. But, they're trying to say death is wrong anyways. Death is wrong, murder is wrong, so if you want to be better than the rest of us, I think that for good or ill, the government must serve as the example. So I believe in Chief Justice Brandeis' analysis on that. So we are a freedom state. Fuck slavery in all its forms. Slavery is up there with violence, stealing, rape, and murder. Johnny's law is don't fucking rape, don't steal, don't murder, and don't use violence against innocent little children and babies and men and women. Don't hit people, don't hurt people, don't rob people, don't rape people, don't murder people. That seems so fucking easy, but I've had a hell of a time trying to convince my my society, my American society, that any of those are wrong. And I can break them down a little bit. Violence, you want to go around hitting children, you pieces of shit, fuck you. Murder, you want to sit there and say cops can murder people and they don't even get a charge? They don't even get a goddamn charge. Meanwhile, someone could just be using freedom of speech and they call a cop a fascist, and now they're going to get charged with disorderly conduct. So a citizen could do nothing, get charged with fucking crimes, while cops can murder people, and y'all ain't going to say shit about it. You ain't going to say nothing, huh? So when a cop takes your loved one away, when it takes your little baby boy away, you going to say something? You do shit? Now, he ain't going to do nothing. You should have been planning this shit a long fucking time ago. You should have got some check on the goddamn police. There is no checks on the police except for themselves and voting election days. But the 3 branches of government is failing us. The police branch is autonomous. They do whatever the fuck they want to do. And they're the ones that start the whole criminal justice system. So these ignorant ass cops go around there and fucking hurt somebody just because they don't like them. What, Alabama, they were sitting there fucking setting people up for like 10 to 20 years, planting drugs on people. So for 20 fucking years, you've had nothing but criminals wearing badges and guns and uniforms using state power to fuck over innocent people who didn't do shit. They're the ones planting the drugs. They planted drugs for 10 to 20 fucking years. So I couldn't even imagine living in that society or that district. You got to change that shit big time. If you're not working on changing it, then you're still trying to maintain the status quo. It's okay for cops to lie, cheat, steal, murder. I guess if you're allowing cops to murder, well, shit, what's, planting a little bit of drugs on some poor, fucking sap. What's that? Make him a sucker, right? Plant drugs on that poor sucker. The war on drugs going strong, you pieces of shit. Love the war on drugs, right? You fucking unprincipled, soulless pieces of shit. Y'all want to stop the drugs? Then we need to, give a shit about people. Have a better fucking society, a better economy. Not all this damn poverty, not all this damn homelessness. So, criminals should be slaves, right? Yeah, in some respects. James Holmes, would I feel bad if I saw him fucking picking trash up? No, I wouldn't feel fucking bad. But no, they shouldn't be made slaves. So, I feel like if you want to make James Holmes pick the thing up, pay him $1 an hour. Pay him $1 an hour. That gets you away from the slavery provision here. pay him $1 an hour. He's got, you know, a bed, he's got electricity, he's got TV. And in fact, maybe we should charge him for that, and then they gotta, you know, work the charges off. So what, they expect free shit from the state? They expect free shit. We don't even give a shit about our homeless. Why are we giving a fuck about the criminals? So if they want free shit from the state, blankets, food, whatever, you know, then you could charge for that, and then they could work those charges off with their labor. So, you know, basically be somewhat reasonable. If you're just making them work for a penny an hour and then you're charging them $10, you know, no, pay them something, $1 or something. Fuck slavery. I don't want to defend slavery, so get slavery the fuck out of here. The allure of using, my problem with the allowing slavery is they call it the new Jim Crow. So how is racism still carrying on? Well, it's like, well, we can't punish black people for being black, but if they're criminals, then you can punish them and then make them slaves again. So the allure of using prison inmates, their freed labor, I think that can incentivize the private prison industry to get more aggressive, to make criminals out of petty nothingness. And then they also says prohibit slavery and involuntary servitude. So think about that term too. That means slavery will still be legal even if Amendment A passes for those who want to be voluntarily enslaved. Do you want to be enslaved? I sure do. Well, come on in. I will enslave you. That goes against human nature. I don't understand people that accept their chains and accept their obedience as if that's the proper way to do things. Why don't you get some love and dignity for your own fucking self? Jesus Christ. You love freedom. Even a worm loves freedom. You try to step on a worm resists. So for people like, hey, why are you resisting? Why are you doing this? Why are you oppressing? Why are you oppressing? Why are you manipulating? Why are you, hurting people? So there is still a loophole. There is still a loophole even if you ban slavery and involuntary servitude, which is what slavery is. I guess you can't enslave the willing. So, yeah. Vote yes on Amendment A. Now, Amendment 74. Vote no on Amendment 74, but, and I thought that this seems like an anti-universal health care measure, and it can be used against universal health care and any other laws. So let's explain what 74 is. So compensation for the reduction in fair market value by government law or regulation. So what Amendment 74 is doing is that it is changing our Colorado Constitution. They're trying to change one of our Bill of Rights. So let's go page 38. Page 38 is, Market 74 requires a state or local government to compensate a property owner if a law or regulation reduces the fair market value of his or her property. They specifically mention zoning. So if zoning says you can't build a house, you can't build a shed, you can't build a garage, you can't build a business, you can't build shit on your fucking property, so therefore the property must stay with no value. So if you pass planning and zoning, then they're saying that the local government must pay you for stopping you from being able to improve your property. If it was just about planning and zoning, I'd be all for it because I believe in freedom. And yeah, God, let me develop my own fucking land. Can I put a goddamn American flag on it? Huh? Are they going to fuck me over for an American flag? So the arguments for it is that, if they pass the law, then it hurts, your business and they should pay for it. And, I kind of feel like that, but that's not a principle. Johnny laws don't murder, okay? So that's, if we can agree on don't murder, don't steal, don't rob, and don't hit people, and don't set people on fire, there's a whole bunch of just obvious big shit that we gotta agree on. So, if they pass the law, okay, this is the argument against it. They say it has potentially far-reaching and costly consequences for taxpayers and governments. Under the measure, taxpayers will be responsible for payments to property owners for any loss of property value resulting in a change in law or regulation, regardless if the property even was profitable to begin with. The potential liability for large payments to private property owners will discourage governments from making decisions that benefit communities and protect vital public resources such as water, air, and infrastructure. That's exactly right. So the for zoning, I wish they would have made it specifically for fucking zoning. The specific language, the section 15 of Article 2. So Section 15 of Article 2, that's our Bill of Rights here in Colorado. Article 2 is Section 15. It's talking about taking property for public use, compensation, and how ascertained. So the right of eminent domain is embedded in our Constitution. You're allowed to take private property to help out with public stuff, waters and shit like that. And section 14 and 15, I want to say, both of these sections are the ones that deal with it, and they're very specific. So section 14 says that you can eminent domain, but you must give them fair market value, and you can only do it for reservoirs, drains, flumes, ditches, for agricultural, mining, milling, domestic, or sanitary purposes. So essentially for water. You can only guaranteed eminent domain for water rights. And if the government takes your property for, to get water to the city, they got to pay you the fair market value for that. That's section 14. Section 15 says that private property, again, can't be taken away unless there's just compensation. And then they have a whole process. 3 freeholder county commissioners or a jury, 6 or 12, has to decide whether or not, there's just compensation for it. So there's this whole process for eminent domain. It's legal. It's, in our Constitution. Now, what they're going to say, now I'm just going to read. So it says before, private property shall not be taken or damaged for public or private use without just compensation. So this one's all about paying the homeowner or landowner or property owner that the government has taken for public use, just compensation. What is fair market value? What is just compensation? Now, this article, Amendment 74, what Amendment 74 is proposing to change is they're going to change that sentence to read this. To read like this: private property shall not be taken or damaged or reduced in fair market value by government law or regulation for public or private use without just compensation. So this could be used for a lot of different things. When I think about the libertarians, they will be pissed off about a park. They're pissed off about a post office. If you have a post office in the community, if you pass a law that, we're going to get a post office, aren't you hurting FedEx? Aren't you hurting UPS? If you have a park system, right, aren't you hurting the fucking gyms and the recreation centers and the, water parks and shit? Even the museums. Well, hell, why'd you do a park? They could just go to the park for free? Fuck. All these people could sue if you but it says pass a law, so that's more of a budget thing. So universal health care and universal education. So when they say, air and water protection things. So if people are used to just dumping oil, off into the fucking land, and they say, hey, you can't dump oil into the fucking land no more because it's dirty. Well, you're making it more expensive for me. Now I could sue you if this thing passes, so you could pay me to haul the oil into a proper disposable site. So that's fucking great. You could sue the goddamn city to make sure they pay for your stuff. So it could go too far. It could go way too far. It could attack a lot of different things. So Amendment 74 is not the most important fucking law in the goddamn world. Universal health care. Who are we going to hurt with universal health care? The insurance companies, right? What about the poor insurance companies? Fuck the insurance companies. Get us universal health care. If we had Colorado government health care, it'd be cheap as shit. In fact, I'm so sick of car insurance. We should have a government-owned car insurance business. We should allow government to buy at least one thing in it, so that way there's not fucking gouging. So if I was to get into, the gasoline business, or if I was to buy up in Pueblo, they own golf courses, right? So they bought a golf course. Well, that makes it unfair for all the other golf courses. So if they were actually giving a shit about the people, they could have bought one gas station, made sure the gas prices, stay at cost, or just barely enough to make a profit so they could pay their employees. But it's a good way to regulate, the other ones, to stop price gouging. So all those things. Universal health care. They say, okay, everybody in Colorado is covered. Well, that hurts the insurance companies. The poor insurance companies who just sit on their fucking ass and take all that damn money. And then when you need them, they won't fucking, file a claim or nothing. So, just take your fucking money, take more of your goddamn money. And what the fuck does insurance? They give you a piece of paper and maybe you're fucking covered. So I got liability only. So I'm not covered for shit. I hit a fucking deer. Now I gotta go, fix these headlights and shit. It looks poor, so I'm going to get pulled over more, right? Because I fucking hit a deer and I got liability insurance, so I have to pay $1,200 a year on insurance when I paid $800 for the car. So $1,200 for insurance. I'm paying $400 more for the fucking insurance than I am for the car. And they're like, well, good, to protect you from us. Well, who's going to protect me from you all? Y'all rob me, take my damn money, and then I hit a fucking deer. So people with full coverage insurance, they could fucking fix their damn headlights. and I don't get shit for it. So I've been paying insurance my entire fucking life, and I haven't got nothing for it. So fuck car insurance. It would make a lot of sense for the state to, if as soon as Colorado says, here's our car insurance, I would buy up immediately. I'd go ahead and fucking pay the $20 a year. So that'd be cheap as fuck. So yeah, the way they would use it against universal health care, if they mandated, all right, we have universal health care, then, the insurance companies are going to lose money. The insurance companies can now sue the fucking state because they're not going to make money. Fuck you. As if, only them making money is the only thing that's important. No, the health of the people is more important than your fucking profits, you pieces of shit. Health is life. There's only 5% of the people that's not covered. So to be against universal health care means you're okay with everybody having insurance except for that little small group of people over there. Sick motherfuckers. So Amendment 74, if it was against, there's 400 pages in Conejos County. There's 70 pages of planning and zoning laws in Castillo County. So that's a shit ton of fucking laws. No comprehensive plan for poverty. No one's combating poverty, but everybody is combating the right of you to do with your land as you see fit. And I would like it to be a little bit less strict, more freedom. Let's have a renaissance. Let's have people developing and starting new stuff, okay? So, don't vote for Amendment 74. It is too wide-ranging, and it's going to fuck over a lot of shit. They will use 74 to fuck everything over. So, as much as I want, freedom for my land and planning and zoning, I'm not ready to give up public schools and post offices and universal health care, water and air protections. Well, hell, if you make public water, then we can't make money off the water. Fuck you. Fuck you. Water should be a human right anyways. Nestle wants to fucking profit off that shit. Fuck. Alright. So again, vote no on 74. No, no, no. 74, you whore. You want 74, you whore? What do you want 74 for? Huh? Because you hate the poor? Huh? So no on 74, and yes on Amendment A. Right? Amendment A. Is that the one that we're for? Fuck slavery. So whichever one was the fuck slavery Amendment A. Yeah. So yes on Amendment A. Yes on Amendment Z. Yes on Amendment Y. No, no, no on Amendment X. Yes on Amendment W. Yes, yes, yes on Amendment V. Yes and no on 73. Yes on Amendment 75. Yes on Proposition 109. Yes on Proposition 110. Yes on Proposition 111. And yes on Proposition 112. And vote for Amy McKinley. The only progressive that I know.